Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And it's really great to be here. What a privilege for me to be here as a board member of the Atlantic Council, but a special privilege to be here to introduce and share with you all the global chairman of Schneider Electric, who fondly goes by JPT. So I'm going to call you JPT if I may. And you have been known as a transformational leader that has turned a hardware-focused electric company into a global leader in automation, digitization, and energy management. And you've done this by having your major market here, in part in the United States, with 22,000 people working in 22 factories across 14 states and $1 billion of investment. So now you're here, and we have the Global Energy Forum, and you're looking at this current administration's clear agenda of greater energy abundance. And as you have told me, it's all about the electrons. So what is electron energy abundance, and how do we achieve that mission from your perspective, JPT?
Yeah, well, Sherri, it's great to be with you today and to speak about this subject, which actually, as you could see this morning during the opening speeches, has become extremely strategic. So, some words about Schneider, just to understand the frame of what I'm going to say. We are a company that is focused on energy technology, and we've been developing that convergence of electrification and digitization for the past 25 years, and we operate all across the value chain. All sorts of supplies, that's 20% of our business, oil, gas, nuclear, renewable, and so on. Then grid, really important. I think I can't count the number of times where grid were mentioned today, 10% of our turnover. And then the big growing sector, 25% of our business in data centers on AI today. And that was 20 years ago. Today it's 1/4 of the company. And then the rest is about building on industry, and especially serving all the agenda of reshoring. So what I've heard today is that we are back to the basics, where we rediscover that energy is absolutely strategic to any country, security, resilience, prosperity, economic growth. And of course, it completely serves, and it's a priority of the agenda of this administration. But there is something new, which is very new, which now energy, and especially the electrons, electricity abundance, has become your license, your passport to be on the map of AI, and therefore to belong to the next generation of innovation. And that is a major revolution, and it's not only here that people realize this. When you look at the part of energy that we were consuming as electricity over the past 30, 40 years, it's been sort of flattish, always at 20%. 20% of what we consume is electricity, the rest is all sorts of other energies. But every country today would tell you that in the next coming 20 years, that 20% will become 40%. So it's a major inflection that we've not seen in our generation. And this is why today Dr. Sultan repeated that AI supremacy is in fact an electrical play. And this is why we all have a role to play.
Well, and given all of that, what is our biggest challenge to achieving this electron energy abundance? Or as Dr. Sultan said, how do we take the gridlock out of the grid?
The challenge I see today for all of us is time to power. We are deploying GPUs on AI in all applications, and it's just the beginning. But integrate that only the production of NVIDIA, which is the leading actor, but not the only actor, represents every year several gigawatts of supplementary power to find and to deploy. And this morning, people were speaking about going big, going fast, but then we speak about the way to do that. So it's about nuclear. You don't get a nuclear plant before 8 years, maybe a SMR in 3 years, but that's only some megawatt and not the gigawatt that we need. A grid, today you need 10 years with permitting, construction, and everything. Gas turbines are highly booked for the next 4 years, so If you want to produce more, you're going to have to wait for more time. So we have to shorten that time to power. And this is where I think we have to integrate the other part of the energy equation, which is the demand. You have plenty of gigawatt available in what's installed today, but most of the energy system is quite inefficient. So if we go into every building today, which is 30 to 40% of the energy consumption, and then you go into manufacturing, and you deploy digitization of energy system, you can save, and we do it every day at Schneider, 10 to 30% of energy, right? If you go into the grids, and grids are not, this morning Dr. Sultan was saying you can't deploy the tech of tomorrow with the grid of yesterday. That's so true. That's so true everywhere. It's quite true here. One of the ways to retrofit, renew the grid fast is to digitize and to do smart grid. And if we do all of this, then we can free some capacity. What we're going to see also much more that we are deploying more than anywhere else are microgrids. So the capacity to provide, to produce energy at the bottom of your application or close to your application. Then you don't need a transmission line. And then, as an industrialist, as a data center operator, or as a campus operator, you can be in control of your energy production. You can make sure that not only it's efficient, it's inexpensive, but also it's resilient. So those are the things that we are working on, but if there is one concern I have today, is a discrepancy between the ambition and the urgency to deploy more energy or find more energy in efficiency.
Well, and as a member of the board of Schneider Electric Federal, I've gotten to see some of the tools that you've brought, such as the microgrids at Miramar, Naval Air Station, and other places to help unlock the power of energy and AI. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of those tools that you think can help us further advance the AI and digital age?
Look, we speak about AI for many applications, but one first thing we should do with AI is apply AI for more efficiency in everything we do. When we do smart buildings, and we have plenty of them in the US, or when we apply AI into smart manufacturing or into grids, you can easily target 10, 20% of energy efficiency. The second thing that you can get is flexibility, which is you can push your consumption or modulate or optimize your consumption at the times where energy can be cheap or can be, well, more performing, I mean, according to the mix. So you can really fine-tune your application because everything is connected from the first time from the power plant to the plug. So what we are doing today in all of those applications is making sure that we optimize the grid. You have to realize that in most of the cases, a grid is used at less of 50% of its capacity, more than 50% of its time. So if you use storage, if you use a number of things, then you can re-optimize the use of grids and free a lot of gigawatt.
Right. Well, understanding the electricity demands of AI on the grid and on infrastructure, and that the cost of AI is really the cost of its power, is AI a friend or a foe, JPT?
That's a very interesting subject, right? You've seen a sort of backlash on AI on the topic like it's an energy guzzler and it's going to really mess up all of our energy systems. Now, let's take simple math. I know it's a little bit late in the afternoon to do simple math, but today, the country that uses most electricity for its data centers is the US, right? Data centers consume 5% of the electricity, which is 20% of the whole energy consumption. Simple math, data centers represent 1% of the energy consumption of the US. Let's say it's going to grow enormously and it's going to double. It's going to be plus 1%. Now, if you apply AI, right, to making buildings more efficient, to making cities and infrastructure more efficient, manufacturing, you are speaking of reducing the energy consumption of 70% of the society. On what we prove every day at Schneider, you can go minus 20% in average, right? So plus 1% on one side, minus 15% on the other side. So AI is clearly a friend. Now, there is only one characteristic of AI which we have to manage. It's very concentrated. So you are speaking about 1 gigawatt. You are speaking about hundreds of megawatts. So what we have to do is recreate those places where you generate enough electricity to power AI data centers, which is highly feasible. And again, we are doing that today. Last week, we were actually in Europe with NVIDIA, and we've been working with a new generation of optimized design. Schneider is really the leading actor in providing energy to data centers. It's about optimizing the electrons from the grid down to the GPU and making sure that we reduce the losses to the bare minimum. And you're going to see the whole industry, that it has always been the case, the whole industry of energy plus IT working hands in hands to reduce energy consumption.
So, JPT, this administration is talking about co-locating many data centers on federal facilities, including military bases, which are also hungry for more distributed and secure energy sources. How do you see Schneider Electric's new federal division playing in that growing market?
Look, actually, it's interesting that you speak about military, because this is one of the applications where we've progressed the most innovation in the field of energy, because we can speak about the cost of energy, but the first thing which is needed everywhere, and above all in the military, is reliability. You can't afford a power outage. Then what we realize in military deployments, for instance, is that you put a lot at risk your troops if they have to transport fuels across, I would say, an hostile environment. So if you are able to operate those bases on those camps or those places in an autonomous manner, then it's a lot of increased safety for your troops, and it's, of course, better for your operations. So what we see is that somewhere data centers on military operations, I would say all mission-critical applications, are putting even more price on resilience, on reliability, than on pure cost of energy, because the cost of a power interruption is terrible for everything. I mean, for a data center, everything is ruined. On most manufacturing plants, if you have to restart, it's a disaster. Semiconductor plants, I mean, it will take you several months or several weeks at times to restart a process. So it's always a balance between efficiency and resiliency, but the thing you can't negotiate with is that notion of complete reliability and resilience.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question, so I'd like to ask you, given your global view of the world and our energy future, both what keeps you up at night, but what makes you hopeful?
Well, I'm always hopeful, otherwise I wouldn't be in business. I mean, you have to be optimistic every day. But now there is one thing that keeps me concerned, and I would say about the West, is that we are not electrifying fast enough. With everything I said, if you integrate the very simple terms in which it was expressed this morning, that AI supremacy is an electrical play, let's just integrate. I hear every time I come to the US, and I come a lot to the US, it's 40% or 30%, 1/3 of my business, and if you put North America, 40%. I hear a lot about strategic competition with other countries. Well, we all have to integrate that today China is producing electricity above the combined level of US, Europe, and India. China is producing more electricity than all those blocks combined together. And if we believe that everything is going to a lot of things are going to electricity, data centers, we spoke about it, AI powered by electricity, mobility, buildings going to heat pumps for better efficiency, and so on, then it's critically competitive that we face, and we are up to the challenge of building the electrical infrastructure which is needed to be at the top of this innovation.
Perfect. Please join me in giving a big round of applause to Jean-Pascal Tricoire, JPT Chairman.
Thank you, Sherri.